Something happening with some of us diasporans where we are starting to just question basic belief systems, attitudes when it comes to how we understand ourselves, our position in the world, and in particularly the relations we have with Africa. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important, particularly that whole concept, the grass isn't greener, because a lot of the time, even for local Africans, those still who may have not traveled, there is this fantasy about the West. And I don't know if us diasporans have done a good job about being honest with our fellow Africans about the realities.
Hello, welcome to the Great Return podcast, where we have conversations rooted in wealth creation and African development for and by people of African heritage, both at home and abroad. I am Lordy Emen, your host, and our mission at TGR Africa is to contribute to making people of Black heritage and the African continent prosperous through business and investments. Today, we are discussing leaving the West behind, chasing the African dream. And for that conversation again, I've got AG Ajewe Chanaire, COO of TGR Africa. Welcome again, AG.
Thank you, and it's nice to be here again.
Good. So today, we're talking about leaving the West behind and chasing the African dream. So I want us to start with discussing why we Diasporans are doing that. I mean, when we wrote The Great Return, one of the reasons we felt The Great Return was taking place was that there was a diaspora awakening taking place at the time, and we think still taking place. I want us to discuss how this awakening is changing perceptions about Africa and why it's causing a lot of us diasporans to leave the West.
Yeah, so I definitely think the more I engage with other diasporans, that there's definitely some kind of awakening happening. And I can speak for myself, and I know it's true for you too, but I think simultaneously there's something happening with some of us diasporans where we are starting to just question basic belief systems, attitudes when it comes to how we understand ourselves, our position in the world, and in particularly the relations we have with Africa. And perhaps it's also the emergence of technology and the fact that now we can see what's actually happening in Africa, and we can look beyond the propaganda that we've been fed that is causing us to reevaluate the relationship we have with Africa. And all this has been a very positive development, because what it has led is to a lot of people actually deciding to move back to the continent. For some people, they are moving back because they want somewhere to and they want to live in Africa. Some people, it's also about business, and it's also about the investment opportunity that is happening. So I definitely feel like there is definitely an awakening that's happening, and that awakening has led to a lot of people beginning to really focus their attention on Africa and leading to what, we like to classify as the new African dream. So yeah.
Yeah, I do believe that the technology age we live in, regardless of anything else, just has made that possible.
Yeah.
And the seeing Africa as people are actually living it has made a huge difference. And I mean, the government of Ghana putting in place a year of return did push it forward. But I don't think even without that, I think diaspora just started having a real interest. And a lot of it too is people opening their eyes to the reality of where Africa is versus where the rest of the world is, and the reasons why, and appreciating now that actually is because of A, B, and C, and seeing things with more clarity, and following on to that, wanting to feel the continent, wanting to understand more of the continent and feel a part of things. So definitely, I believe those are the things that have contributed to it. So another thing we highlighted in the book, which is the Great Return that we wrote, was a concept that we diasporans have come to realize that the grass is not actually greener on the other side. How has this realization influenced a lot of us in a way as to shift our focus back to Africa?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important, particularly that whole concept the grass isn't greener, because a lot of the time, even for local Africans, those still who may have not traveled, there is this fantasy about the West. And I don't know if us diasporans have done a good job about being honest with our fellow Africans about their realities. And in life, I'm a big believer in balance. So whatever we gain, we've also lost a lot by being diasporan. And I always like to say this: I don't think we should ever take pride in the fact that we live in a foreign land. Again, travel's great, all that kind of thing, but I really think it's important as diasporans, we recognize that, I mean, the whole notion of diaspora, it's really mainly applied to Jews. Jews are like the main type of, and to be a diasporan, if you actually look what the word means, which, we highlighted the definition of that, it implies that you don't actually have a home. That's one of the key tenets, that you are misplaced and you are lost. So the word diaspora is mainly something that was used for Jews, but it applies to all displaced
people.
groups. So are we actually a dispersed group of people? No, we are not. We are selectively choosing to be in the diaspora, but we must recognize that it's not actually a positive thing to be a diasporan.
Yeah, I would take a slightly different view to that, in that for some of us, it's been a choice. For others, it's not. In the sense of others find themselves there, not like us deciding to go to the West to chase a dream or to chase this or that economically. Some people were born there through no fault of their own, and they have a really, how do I say, their history is very difficult. So I wouldn't say that we choose to be there, because once you are there, it's not as easy to then like decide, I'm coming back home to where. So in that regard, I want to highlight that there are people that it's not as easy, but regardless, Africa is still home to all of us.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I'm just trying to highlight, like, words are very important, and the connotations of it is important. And I'm saying that when we speak of this diaspora awakening, I'm saying it's the first time we're actually questioning the idea of why are we here? Why are we in the diaspora?
Exactly.
And I'm just trying to let our people become aware that the idea of being in diaspora is not associated with positive things.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm saying. So I myself think it's a very positive thing that we are seeing this awakening. But it links to what I mean by, the grass isn't actually greener. Because we've lost a lot. I know I lost a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I always tell some of the locals that you take for granted what it's like to feel like you belong and you're connected already. Because for me, for most of my life, I was always the one black kid surrounded by white kids. You see, I mastered the art of knowing how to assimilate.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think we forget that we've trained ourselves to assimilate,
which is different
from authentically belonging and all that kind of thing. And also, culture matters.
It does.
And the more I understand and I get to know my own African culture, I realize that Western and African culture are really two ends of the pole,
Yeah.
ends of the spectrum. It's why a lot of us even find it hard to navigate around here, because we may be speaking English, but how it's translating is not the same. And culturally, you lose out a lot.
You do.
But also, the grass isn't actually greener because of the fact that we're really actually starting to realize that, asking ourselves the question, actually, is my economic opportunities better in the West, or is it better in Africa? And that's the
Yeah.
question we've never asked ourselves.
Yeah. It's always been assumed that it is better in the West. But is that actually true now?
Yeah. And even for myself as well, just reflecting back and comparing my opportunities here, and I didn't even ever I really didn't actually conceptualize the idea that Africa is an economic destination. You know, if it wasn't because I was exposed to certain content online, I really didn't see Africa as a, I think most of us, the idea is eventually we'll go back and retire.
Yes.
So the grass isn't greener because there's a real debate that can actually be legitimately had in our modern time. Does the West really offer more opportunities for us diasporans than Africa? And I firmly believe that perhaps that was the case a while ago, but that's not true. And so we are starting to realize that the grass isn't actually greener on the other side. Yes, Africa has its problems, but we forget what we've lost.
Yes. I was going to say,
You see,
the grass isn't greener. And I would say even before, we used to think that you gained a lot by going abroad. But like you're saying, if you actually want to analyze what you've lost at the same time, and also in terms of family and kids knowing where they come from, their history, to be proud of themselves, all of that is a massive loss that we never really consider.
oh yeah. I mean, myself is one of the things I've loved about being back is realizing just how much family I have, and
Yes.
how much of an asset family is. You know, to the extent where I don't really need to seek out friends outside, because I have aunties and cousins who are around my age and all sorts.
Yeah.
You see, and you know, when I was in the West, Christmas is just me and my nuclear family. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, my friends are going to visit, yeah, this and that.
But
but you don't have that.
Yeah.
You see, so it's these things you don't realize, but when you come back home and you start to I actually lost a lot. I may
Yeah.
have gained a lot, but I
But
also
you've
actually lost a lot
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah. And it's the appreciation of that
you know,
which adds into this sort of awakening
yeah.
that we are talking about. Okay. When you look at what's happening in the world and the changing geopolitical environment, it's clear that the Western world is entering a decline, especially in its economic life cycle. And we are seeing the rise of emerging markets like Africa. Why is that also causing diasporans to leave the West?
Yeah, so I mean, we spoke about it a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
but we became diasporans for economic reasons.
Yeah.
I don't think most of us were in love with the West and their culture and whatever.
No.
Like I was saying, I don't think you move to England because you really want to drink tea and all that kind of thing and eat, you know, English breakfast or whatever.
And I think I'd like to add, and it's a cold for me.
Yes, exactly. I don't think we're all just dying to go in.
Feel
You
the
know,
cold.
I mean, we get
And maybe
ACs.
see snow.
Yeah, I mean, you have ACs here, but I don't think people want the full experience 24/7.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's hardcore economic drivers. I mean, our people will do all sorts to go abroad for
Yeah.
hardcore, and they'll put up with all sorts of conditions there. So
Yeah.
the argument for going abroad was always rooted in a rational economic mindset.
Yeah.
But what's happening in the world? What's happening in the West vis-a-vis the rest of the world? What are their own institutions saying? I remember I sent you that report about Goldman Sachs census
Yeah.
that they did in 2022 or something, and
Mhm.
I urge people to go and read it. Goldman Sachs analysis of Ghana in, I think, 50 years.
Yeah.
And they are predicting that Ghana's GDP will increase from 100 billion
Mhm.
to 15 trillion.
Wow.
You see,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big number, isn't it?
you see. So it's a major development. So
Mhm.
the rest of the world, and that's the thing about economic cycles. It's
Mhm.
just like how we go through weather cycles. You know, you go through autumn, winter, spring, summer. And in economic cycles, there is the period of inception, there's the growth cycle, there's the stabilizing, and then there's the
Decline.
decline. It's a matter of fact that we are entering the decline of the West. And on several episodes, we've highlighted where the science pointed is. They have demographic problems.
Yeah.
They have problems to do with I mean, it's not necessarily a problem, it's the fact that they don't even value human capital anymore because they are becoming so advanced that even humans are not even needed anymore.
Mm.
You see, culturally, look at problems the West is having with mental health. I mean, in America, it's almost about to be a civil war. Look how divided politically. All of these are telltale signs of a declining society.
That there are problems.
You know, so people who study civilizations, watch empires, these patterns are there.
Yeah.
Now, it's also clear that Wall Street and other major investors are pivoting and moving their money to other parts of the world.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everyone is aware of Dubai and all these kinds of places, but a lot of people are not aware that Africa is also at their attention.
Exactly.
You know, I strongly urge people to watch the World Economic Forum's most recent conferences in Davos, the ones focused on Africa. You see, and look at the policies they are now, you know, for the first time ever, the West wants to develop Africa, which is an irony. But we've said that development is an abstract concept.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to think that I'm saying that the West is going to develop Africa in a way that is beneficial to Africans,
No.
but industrialization is going to hit Africa. When this period happens, all sorts of opportunities, both for employment, investment, starting a business, all exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to technology, you match that with technology. Now, people like myself, I'm aware that there's economic opportunities in Ghana. Before, without technology, I wouldn't be aware.
No.
So the economic reasons that caused us to become diasporans are the same economic reasons that are causing us to come back home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I look at things this way, you know, especially those of us who traveled from Africa to the West. You went there because you felt you needed certain things that would advance you economically. And then today you are watching the news and you see what is really happening. And the question then is, and then you see a lot also now in social media and the news about Africa and so many things happening. So as a person of African heritage, I think it will be interesting if you don't start asking yourself, what's going on there? I'd like to know more. What can I get into? So I think it's only natural, because the reasons why you are where you are, which is not home, are starting to fall apart. So you've got to rethink where you are, because you don't have to be there.
Yes.
But apart from that, it's even in terms of investments. Even if you're not thinking you want to move, you still start thinking, actually, is that place still giving me what I think is giving me comparatively?
Yeah, I think we did the episode where we were comparing the financial markets.
Exactly.
And we're saying that the risk-adjusted return, if you compare the US stock market with Ghana stock market, you're still left with an extra 8-9%.
Exactly. So it's things like that.
So it's practical things like that. I'm hoping that some of the work we are doing is further shining light on a lot.
Exactly.
Because I do think that whilst all of these developments are great, it's only a small percentage of the wider diaspora community that is even aware of this stuff. So a
That's the
lot
thing.
more work has to be
It
done
needs
to
to be done.
highlight these things.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. No, this is one of our biggest thing, where it's creating the awareness,
Yeah.
because it is very hard as a diasporan living abroad, because you are in motion every
You're in
day.
a
Is
rat
so
race,
hectic.
you
It's
know,
a rat
you're
race,
in your routine.
and sometimes making time to actually look and see what's going on doesn't happen. So this is why we are very passionate about talking about these things, so that you start thinking and therefore go looking and hopefully get on board with what is happening as at now. Okay, so now I want us to talk about what the African dream is, right? We've looked at the reasons why diasporans are leaving the West. I want us to look at why are they picking Africa? Why are they turning their attention to Africa? And why have the emergence? So why the emergence of the African dream? And what about the African dream that diasporans find so attractive to cause them to leave the West and focus their attention on Africa?
Yeah, so for a lot of our lives, we always heard about the American dream,
Yeah.
which for some reason we too also wanted to
be
be a part of the American
the
dream.
American dream.
I actually like the way America has marketed itself, because it really sold a concept.
Yes.
And luckily, I think we are actually seeing the emergence of the African dream. And what is the African dream? Well, in a simple way, is I think collectively, both locally and globally, us Africans are coming to realize that no one's coming to save us. Simultaneously, we're also starting to realize that we don't need anyone to come and save us. We actually have what we need to mark our own path. And thirdly, we are also starting to realize that Africa is the new land of opportunity, because it's a developing economy and industrialization is happening.
Yeah.
And Africa is set to be the next major growth region of the world. So any person serious about building wealth, serious about business, serious about being the next tycoons, Africa is the place to do it, whether you're African or non-African. That's why Lebanese are here doing it. That's why everyone else is here doing it.
Yeah.
And this is the African dream. And what I also love is the fact that we criticize young people, but in general, what we are also witnessing is the rise of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Africans developing African solutions to solve African problems. And we are actually now seeing the beginning of a new form of wealth creation in Africa that's coming from industry, not from the state or any other forms of corruption. We are witnessing the birth of people becoming wealthy by actually solving problems, building industries, developing sectors. And that is a positive development. And all of this is the new African dream. So the same way everyone likes to tell the story, oh, I went to America with like $10 or whatever in my pocket.
Yeah.
And then like that's where Africa is too.
Yes.
You see, you should honestly,
it's a land of opportunity.
I mean, I was calculating that, like I told you the other day, the woman I buy my spaghetti thing from, one of the vendors on the roadside, I was actually there calculating, trying to work out how much she makes.
Look at you.
Just to see, like,
yeah.
And I'm like, this woman's making like 8 to 10,000 a month.
Yeah.
From just like
That's
selling
small.
Indomie and spaghetti. And I'm like, you wouldn't think it. 8,
No.
10,000.
Yeah.
This woman's, and looking at how her margins, it would be really high too. So she's really actually taking home like 6,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the government don't know about it. Nobody knows about it. She didn't have to get a permit to set her thing. She just and so I'm saying that literally that's what's going on. Like, what you don't think is making money is making serious money.
Yeah.
The pure water people, like there's a
lot of money
serious
in it.
money
Yes.
in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Why is because it's the land of opportunity, because everything is needed.
Yes.
That's the point.
Mhm.
Everything is needed. So if you just provide something that's needed,
Pick one thing
and
get going.
you see, because too many things are needed.
Yes.
Too many problems are there.
Yeah.
So that's what America was. People forget America was literally a desert. Like it was just there.
Yeah.
The American Indians,
Yes.
they had a whole different type of civilization. It
Yeah.
wasn't ours.
No.
This type of thing.
No.
So them, it's about living in harmony with nature. They weren't trying to construct roads. They weren't dumb. It's just that's not their worldview.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, so that was the point of the American.
They had a more sustainable worldview.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea of the American dream is, yes, it's a land of opportunity, not because someone's going to hand you an opportunity, but because no one's going to stop you from trying to do a thing.
Yeah.
We always complain about the challenges of doing business in Africa, but a lot of the challenges are why there's so much money to be made, because the red tape's almost non-existent, that this woman can just have her whole stand there.
Yeah.
And she doesn't work like all the she only does it like a shift from 7 to like 12.
Yeah.
So it's 5-6 hours a day, boom, and she's gone. But there's countless times. Me myself, I'm thinking, should I?
Should you start?
Do you see? So this is the African dream.
Yeah.
So, and the African dream is something that I think it has begun in Africa, but I think it's us diasporans actually now realizing, because I actually think the opportunity is more in our advantage to take take as well, just by default.
Yes.
But yes, there's very much an African dream that's taking place.
That started. And the earlier you get in,
yes,
the better. So, and I want us to talk about the future of diaspora-African relations. It's clear that the Great Return is fully in effect. Some of the things we've discussed shows that this trend is likely to continue. So I want to finish the conversation with what all this means for the future of diaspora-Africa relations. Where do you see diaspora-African relations heading, and what kind of impact will that make on African development?
Yeah, so this is something I do think about a lot, just trying to see what the future of diaspora-Africa relations can be. I think one major development that we'll keep seeing more of is a new culture. I think we're going to see diasporans functioning like, I like to use the Chinese as a good example, because the Chinese go everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
But they go with a strategy to extract what they need from there back to the motherland.
Yeah.
So I think what we are going to witness is this type of mindset and approach, that there will be the boots on the ground diasporans, and then there will be those that are still out there in the West. And the idea is that we will be operating with a mindset that we are over there to learn what we need to learn and acquire the resources we need to come.
Yeah.
But the idea is that there will be a whole new culture where nobody thinks that you go abroad to make money. And diasporans themselves will start thinking strategically that I'm just leveraging here, but my nest egg is there.
Yeah.
And that will be a major development. I also think one of the really big impacts that this can make is that we really need to create a counter elite. What I mean by a counter elite is that we don't, unfortunately, a lot of development is based on the quality of the leadership you have.
Yeah.
If the leadership is not rooted with a development orientation, then it means that the country itself does not develop. And the reason Africa needs a counter elite is we need our own Rockefellers, we need our own Carnegies, we need our own Vanderbilts.
Yeah.
You know, I always say this, but like Africa needs you to be rich.
Yeah.
It sounds sometimes, I don't even know if it sounds right, but Africa needs to create more wealthy people.
Yes.
Because wealth is generated through value creation.
Mm-hmm.
So Africa needs more people, you know, to actually become wealthy.
Yeah.
You see.
So Africa needs more Dancotes, if you like.
Yes, you see. And we diasporans, when we look at the power of our capital and how we can override and supersede dependence on foreign aid and the IMF and all those kind of things, is diaspora finance can actually be the motor vehicle to empower these emerging local entrepreneurs that are starting industries, solving problems. Because when you make these people wealthy, they would have a vested interest in influencing the state to move along a development-led agenda.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the aristocrats and the industrialists.
Yes.
In England, for example, the industrialists, they were the ones who were starting the factories. It wasn't the aristocrats. The aristocrats were old money. They made their money because the king gave them land.
Yes.
In Africa, the people whom you see as the generational wealth people, if you really trace back, it goes back to some form of corruption, because unfortunately we don't have industry. So you know, these things aren't conspiracies. We're not pointing fingers, but this is what it is. So just like the industrialists needed to influence government to put in place policies that made sense, that's what will happen if diaspora capital is efficiently allocated here. We will have a new elite that make money from development. So they would definitely want to steer the country towards a development. Unfortunately, right now, that's not the case. But this is one of the big impacts. But I also, going back to even diaspora capital, is the fact that the amount of money we send home to Ghana alone, just Ghanaian diasporans, is enough to actually, at the very minimum, buy off the debt we owe. You see, to the IMF and the World Bank, and it's definitely it's also possible to totally
transform.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is, the harsh reality is that there's a hierarchy of beneficiaries for any country, because countries are like companies. So the person who gets paid first is the asset owners and creditors. Now, it also means that they are the ones who have the biggest influence on policy. Africa will never truly be able to adopt the policies it needs to adopt to develop. And we had a whole show about developmental finance and developmental economics and how that ties into sovereignty and all those kind of things. And we can actually buy that debt off the IMF and be the ones that the African governments owe money to. One thing that really excites me is the possibility of diaspora local partnerships, diaspora public partnerships, where we are playing the role of the World Bank, playing the role of the IMF, and we are dictating conditionalities to African governments about what they need to do to access our money, how they need to structure their economies, and what we would like to see. And for Africa, who is it better to owe money to? The IMF and the World Bank, who are basically backed by the foreign ministries of the major economies of the world, or to your fellow African diasporans, who has a vested interest in wanting to see. I always say Africa is for sale, and part of how corruption works is that one of the biggest ways to make money is who you give the contract to. So there's a whole sophisticated structure on
network,
how you get the contract, even when with foreign direct investment, you see. And as long as that person's got their cut, the rest is, you see. But imagine we diasporans are the ones who are the main financiers, the ones that African governments owe money to. then we can force them to restructure the economy in a certain kind of way. And we collectively as a whole have the capital to do that. What the reason why it's not happening is it's like communism. Karl Marx, part of his ideology was that the proletariat, so like the working classes and the peasants, they are not class conscious. And that is why they subject themselves to capitalism, and that's one of his things.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar in the sense that us diasporans are not economically conscious of our collective power, and we don't really know how we can shift the needle in a significant way.
Yeah.
So this is also something that I really think will play a major role in the shaping of how Africa develops and what diaspora Africa relations can be.
Yeah. So, I mean, all that you've said, I concur with it, but it's essentially saying, okay, if we look at it, now we have a few people like Dancote, right? What we need is multiples of them.
This is what
huge multiples of them. And then those people, because if you look at how he's operated so far, I think it's been beneficial to Africa.
100%.
So can you imagine if we had multiples of him doing things the way he's doing it? And then obviously when people are that wealthy, they've created wealth that they are also using to solve real problems facing our economies. They definitely have the ear of the people in authority. So that's what we are saying, actually, diasporans as a collective could become.
Yes, I mean, it links in perfectly with corruption, because people talk about corruption, but they don't ask themselves, why does corruption start? It's a human nature thing. Corruption always appears when people develop a scarcity mindset. When that happens, people don't think about growing and creating wealth. They think about how I can get as much of what already exists. So if you look at Africa, people think the goal is to, people think there's not enough.
Yes.
So everyone's whole MO is to how much I can take.
Yeah.
But with a serious injection of diaspora capital and economic activity, that is when job creation starts.
Yes.
That is when we see the mobilization of human capital. We see developments taking place.
Absolutely.
That is when people actually start seeing and noticing things, and then it lays the pathway to a transition into an abundance mindset, because corruption really stems from a scarcity mindset. You see, but with diaspora capital being injected in a significant way, the kind of development that will take place will start a new notion.
Yeah.
And as you said, when we are actually empowering the Dangotes of the world, and the fact that we need multiple of them, because that is the point of development.
Yeah.
You see, so I think the potential of diaspora Africa relations as it relates to African development can be significant, and it's something that I definitely think we are just witnessing the
starting off.
It
needs fostering.
Yeah. But another really, really, really important aspect is, unfortunately, our brothers and sisters who local Africans, and I mean it's the same everywhere in the world, is you can tell there's a lot of in the box thinking.
Yeah.
Like everyone is in the box. It's hard to see the angles.
But that's from the scarcity mindset, because their day-to-day is trying to make ends meet. So there's no extra capacity to try to innovate, to try to think outside the box, to learn.
And this is the beauty of diaspora Africa relations, is we are in a unique position where we have been exposed to developed systems. which means that we know what works. I mean, we take a lot of things for granted.
Yeah.
And then we also are gaining a better understanding of what's needed here.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows us to be the bridge Africa needs between solutions that work that can also be implemented here with a tweak, with its own Africanness. And unfortunately, I think the local population will struggle to do that because they are so used to what they are used to. Even when it's
Yes.
inefficient,
Yeah.
you can see that that's just the system. That's what people know.
Mm.
It also gives us it gives Africa a unique position to actually become the center of civilization again. Why do I say that? Because we always forget, and we've highlighted this in some episodes and even in the book, but we admire Western civilization. We think is, but actually Western civilization was an experiment.
Mm.
And in any experiment, you don't know how
The outcome.
the outcomes are going to be. So there are a lot of problems wrong with Western civilization, like a lot of problems, which gives us a great advantage because we can look at the blueprint of the rest of the world. We can look at China's blueprint too. We can look at the Asia miracle. We can look at their blueprint.
Yeah.
We can look at the West's blueprint, and we can say, okay, I see. Yes, this might look good to adopt, but 50 years from now, how is it going to impact our societies?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we constantly see a correlation between the way the rest of the world has chosen to develop and the fact that we have demographic problems?
Mm-hmm.
Why has development destroyed nuclear families?
Mm-hmm.
Why has it broken down communities? Is that the type of development Africa also wants?
Mm-hmm.
Look at educational systems across the world. They are so out of date, you see, but Africa can leapfrog all these things. Look at how we've leapfrogged so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Africans are banking. Me, I don't even remember the last time I used a bank. But Momo is...
Yeah, it's a different form of banking. It works. It's brilliant.
You see? So I actually think the real opportunity is that Africa can become the center of civilization again, where the rest of the world comes to Africa to learn again and go back. Why? Because we can perfect on what they already did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we actually underestimate that we actually already have, like, there's a lot of good things about our culture that we need to keep and preserve.
Yes.
And there's a lot of good things we used to do in the past that we need to actually bring forward.
Bring back.
And diasporans are in a perfect position to bring these two worlds in a way that locals can't. And that is something that can not only develop Africa, but make Africa the model for the future world to follow. I think we had an episode where we talked about pyramid
structures,
economies and diamond economies. And I'm saying that most people assume that development needs to always create a pyramid type of economic system where there's a few at the top and
the
then
masses at the bottom.
But people don't know you can't build a diamond society. And Africa can build a diamond society.
Yeah, because we are at the beginning.
We are the beginning
at the moment.
It's a lot easier to implement something new than to try and implement something new with the legacy of the old.
Yeah.
You see, I think we are missing such a big opportunity, education, because quality of education is nowadays, it's not really a matter of like money. It's just about your education philosophy. The West, it will be very, very, very hard to change the rigid educational structures. We just only started learning. Like, obviously, I'm over exaggerating, but we can really set up a modern educational system that is actually relevant, that teaches critical thinking, creative thinking, that problem solving, that actually teaches practical skills, all these kinds of things. We can leapfrog all these types of things. And the diaspora is a powerful facilitator of that.
It is, yeah.
Because we can truly be the bridge. And it's also about protecting Africa, because one of the problems I've noticed in Africa is Africans are still in love with our captors in a huge way. It's really, really severe.
It is.
You see, which means that we still are trying to, even if we will develop, it will be along their lines, because we don't even conceptualize we admire the West so much that it's hard to even conceptualize that maybe their systems themselves are flawed.
Yes. Yeah.
You see, but with diasporans, we know and we can tell and we can let you know what's the cause and effect. So it's also about I think African development is really about how do we keep that which has worked for us and preserve that.
Yeah.
But how do we learn from the rest of the world and incorporate that?
Yes. Yeah.
So that African development truly becomes something that's unique to Africa.
Yeah.
It's not a development pathway that is just we're following a script and a blueprint, because following that script and blueprint means that you are also going to inherit those same problems. And it's actually a lot of really, really, really good. It's like you were saying, like in my apartment, here everyone's quite communal, even in a city like Accra.
Yes.
That I know my neighbors, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone comes together, you know, but in the West, if you're living in your apartment, you don't know that, you know, so there's little things like that we take for granted. If we're not careful and if diasporans don't play this bridge, Africa will develop in the image and likeness of our colonizers, and that means that we lose the best parts of what
Africa.
thingy.
Yes.
And then we inherit problems that we never even had. One thing it was that episode you did about when we were talking about developmental finance, and the guest was highlighting that poverty, I think you even said poverty to you is even an abstract concept, because you see, that's
when I was growing up, yes.
Like me, the beauty about Africa is you will see a massive mansion here and then next to it is a kiosk, because rich and poor are living together. There's no segregation. But me, I look at people that people will say, oh, these people are poor, and me, they are happy, they are relaxed, they are enjoying themselves, they are playing. Me, I don't mental health is not really, you see, but we don't realize that that's because of how we live.
Yeah.
And if we just
it's
replicate,
a lot to do with our culture, a lot to do with what we've brought from before that we are still carrying on with, which is this mindset. Everybody laughs and jokes and everybody is relaxed, you know. It doesn't matter in terms of people understand life, and then like money and financial, you know, wealth. Yes, you can be rich, but you're still part of the ordinary. To an extent, you know. So it doesn't matter that you are this rich man. Everybody relates, you know, well together.
You see, and that's a phenomena that I didn't realize, because honestly, the people think are poor, most of the people I know in the West, I think they are way happier. Way happier than So it shows that. So the key thing is diaspora Africa relations is how do we protect that which is good about our culture, and how do we build upon it by learning from the rest of the world. And I think diasporans are in the perfect position to do that. And it's even the fact that we are also the ones who have the skills. We are the ones who left. So it's us to come back to deal with the brain drain issue, because okay, let's say the financing issue is solved. Let's just say the leadership problem is addressed, but we don't have the broad human capital.
That's true.
But the good thing is that enough of us have gone abroad, we've learned what we needed to learn, and can fill these gaps. You see, over in the West, you're just this guy, you're just that guy. But here, that is
huge.
It's highly needed.
Your contribution will be huge.
Your
contribution will be huge.
So I really do feel like,
I think the thing, just to add to what you're saying, is this thing that people don't think about, which is the fact that, like we're saying, for local people, I mean, meeting every day, you know, life's demands is tough. So it's still some kind of rat race going on. They don't have the time to actually think about the world and what's going on and analyze stuff like that. Stuff like that is like, well, you are full. Yeah, so the rest of us are looking for food, kind of thing. And the danger with that is who is actually like safeguarding the way Africa is progressing, the way
Exactly.
Africa is developing, who is putting safeguards in place. If we diasporans, we've been lucky to see the best and the worst of the Western civilization. And yes, some things are brilliant because they work well. But even within that, we can see what the problems are with them. And then some things too that never really worked well at all, but they're saddled with them because it's been part of a whole
thing.
So we can be the safeguard. We can ensure that the development that we embark on in Africa, there are safeguards, that we just don't adopt things because we think they've been brilliant. And even if where we are adopting them, we are able to put in the safeguards of, no, that doesn't really work because it results in this kind of thing, that kind of thing. So it is very important for us diasporans to understand the key role that we need to be playing. Finance, yes, but it's not the totality of it. And yes, the skills gap, yes. But again, we really have to be self-aware of how Africa is developing and safeguard Africa from just walking in blindly into another 30, 40 years time, having all these social issues of, mental issues that the West has and all of that. Even the like you're saying, educational system doesn't work that well. They're stuck. How do you change this whole system? So this is the time for us to take that responsibility and just make sure that we are contributing.
Yeah. And also, I am very worried about the trajectory of how Africa is what Africa is morphing into, especially when I look at Accra and I look at just the way people are treating each other and this excessive materialism and fast money culture, and it's
not our culture.
Like, we are very confused as a people, and you can tell that we don't really, I feel like we are adopting the West of there and rejecting the best of what it is. And so now we are in this very, I don't know what the modern African
we are learning what we
shouldn't be learning.
And we are not learning what we should be learning, or we are adopting what we shouldn't be adopting.
Yeah, so it's a very scary thing you are seeing. And truthfully, I think until you leave capital cities like Accra, you're not going to feel what the Africanness.
Yes.
Because like Accra, I don't know what's happening with people and where our minds are, and
it's not
African.
No.
And this is where the diaspora can really step in, because even for those that are trying to relocate, if you don't help play a role in shaping African development, you're just going to relocate back into a mini West.
Yes,
because right now
replicating it
everything is being replicated, hook, line,
and sinker. Yeah, that's very true. So at this point, in form of conclusion, what would we like to see diasporans focus on in terms of diaspora Africa relations, and just in terms of the responsibility of diasporans?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all ties into generally why we are seeing people leave the West, why the Great Return as a movement is actually taking place, and really this emergence of the African dream, because it all ties into it, that it's very clear that diasporans are critical to African development. It's very clear that a reevaluation of how we perceive the West and Africa from an economic opportunity standpoint a reevaluation needs to take place. It's very clear that we diasporans can be the bridge between the West and Africa. Is very clear that we have both the human capital and the financial capital to really drive development and fill the gaps that need to be filled. And it's very clear that we stand to really, really benefit.
Yeah.
And that is the essence of the African dream. And for me, it's a matter of who's going to grab it, the opportunity, and who isn't. Because, I mean, nowadays, the American dream has died.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
clear. So these things don't last forever. But these next 10 years, there is truly an African dream.
Mm-hmm.
And Africa really needs diasporans to buy into this dream.
Yeah.
Because it's critical to the development of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But it also can have a transformational impact on us diasporans' lives.
Yeah.
Given the fact that a lot of us are still there because we think that's where we can make money.
Yeah.
But what if that's not the case?
Yeah.
And we can clearly see that actually there is money in Africa. It's just about how do you access it.
Mm-hmm.
So the African development is directly correlated to the relationship Africa and the diaspora can build together.
Together, yeah.
And ultimately, it's important that people are aware that there's a new African dream.
Mm-hmm.
And it's available to us diasporans to get involved with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you have it. The African dream has started.
Yes.
So do get involved because it is important. The African dream is for people of African heritage. We shouldn't leave it to be for other people and then we keep talking as we always do, keep complaining as we always do. Let us take the responsibility and get involved and see what together we can do to make this African dream indeed for people of African heritage. It has been a great conversation. AG, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And I'd like to thank you too, our cherished viewers and listeners, for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button now if you're not already subscribed, and do like and share to amplify our voices to create the positive change we need. And don't forget to grab yourself a copy of our book, The Great Return, which is on Amazon in all forms. And if you're doing or thinking of doing business or investing in Africa or Ghana, then we can help. Get in touch by visiting our website, tgrafrica.com, where you can book a consultation for all forms of collaborations and partnerships, both with us and with others, also for business and investment advice and guidance. And last but not least, to check out all the other stuff, all the other great stuff we're doing and how you can get involved. See you in the next episode.